Welcome to Corporate Warrior, the podcast that brings you the best advice on how to improve your health, optimize performance, and maximize productivity. With your host, Lawrence Neal.
This episode is brought to you by ARX, the most innovative, efficient, and effective all-in-one exercise machines I have ever seen. I was really impressed with my ARX workout. The intensity and adaptive resistance was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I love how the machine enables you to increase the negative load to fatigue target muscles more quickly, and I love how the workouts are effortlessly quantified. The software tracks maximum force output, rate of work, total amount of work done, and more in front of you on screen, allowing you to compete with your previous performance to give you and your clients real-time motivation. The ARX uses a computer-controlled motor to give you the exact amount of resistance your clients need 100% of the time. This means that the resistance can never become dangerous, is intuitive and simple to use, and can provide you with all of the results you and your clients are looking for in a fraction of the time. ARX is highly effective and efficient in delivering all of the benefits of exercise, including increased strength, muscle mass, cardiovascular conditioning, bone mineral density, and injury recovery. As well as being utilized by many high-intensity trainers to deliver highly effective and efficient workouts to their clients, ARX comes highly recommended by world-class trainers and brands, including Bulletproof, Tony Robbins, and Ben Greenfield Fitness. To find out more about ARX and get $500 off install when you place an order, please go to arxfit.com and mention Corporate Warrior in the How Did You Hear About Us field. So again, to get $500 off install when you order, head on over to arxfit.com and enter Corporate Warrior in the How Did You Hear About Us field. Well, hello there. I am Lawrence Neal and welcome to another episode of Corporate Warrior, the podcast that shows you how to optimize your health and get the most out of your high-intensity training and start and grow your HIIT business. My former guests include the who's who in HIIT, people like Dr. Don McGuff, Drew Bay, and Jim Flanagan, health, fitness, and nutrition giants like Mark Sisson and Rob Wolf, successful HIIT entrepreneurs and exercise scientists like Lou Carlson, Dr. James Fisher, and Dr. Brad Schoenfeld, and many, many more. This episode is also brought to you by the HIIT Business Membership. It's an online blueprint I've designed to help you grow your HIIT business, including exclusive content on sales, marketing, hiring, pricing, retention, personal training, monthly Q&As of experts, and a high-grade community full of thought leaders and HIIT entrepreneurs. If you'd like to join, please go to corporatewarrior.co/membership. Today's guest is business owner and personal trainer Ted Harrison, who returns to the podcast for a part 3, I believe. Ted is a UK-based high-intensity trainer and owner of Vital Exercise, a private exercise studio specializing in strength and conditioning. Ted has spent over 3 decades helping people transform their health and build their best physiques using an evidence-based exercise approach. You can contact Ted via his website, which is vitalexercise.com, or Facebook, Vital Exercise. You can Ted is quite happy for you to phone him via his mobile number, which is on his website, and his email as well is also on his website, vitalexercise.com. Ted also provides Skype consultations to help you get into the best shape and achieve your health goals, and all the information for all of those services can be learned about over at vitalexercise.com. For the show notes for this episode, please go to corporatewarrior.co/vitalexercise-free. I know, right? Worst domain ever, but that is the domain. It's /vitalexercise-free. So a lot of you have been asking me about motivation. How do you get more motivated doing high intensity training? You know, certain exercise routines, particularly bodyweight, I've found are very, very difficult to maintain motivation in terms of training with a very high degree of effort and intensity and actually training to muscular failure. Even for myself, who's someone who, you know, I think I'm particularly good at training fairly hard and I've been training for a long period of time, but there are certain exercises, especially if they're at the back end of certain routines, that I find very, very hard to actually train to failure. A good example is abdominal exercises, things like prone trunk extension, stuff like that. So I'm right there with you. I appreciate the challenge there in terms of motivating oneself to training for a high degree of effort, especially at the end of a routine. But also looking at, panning back and looking at the bigger picture and thinking about how we stay motivated doing resistance training and training hard over the long term or over a lifetime. So this is a challenge that many of you have. And I thought that as someone who's been training for decades, stays in great shape all year round and helping others do the same, Ted really is the perfect person to help address this topic and really give you some good guidance and advice on, how to stay in good shape over the course of, all year round and how to maintain that motivation for training. So we talk a lot about mindset. We talk about how to fit training in around your other responsibilities. We talk about goal setting and much, much more. So without further ado, I give you one of your favorites, and certainly one of mine, Ted Harrison.
Let's go.
Ted, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me back on. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure, and it's never a chore.
Never a chore, no.
I feel like I've said that before.
Yeah.
Cool. No, good to have you back, and really excited to talk about this topic of motivation from the perspective of participants of high-intensity training, but also business owners and personal trainers. So one of the questions I get quite a lot is, some people find it difficult to train to muscular failure and train hard all the time, consistently over the long term. So what tips do you have for helping people with motivation to train hard?
Look for where you are drawing your motivation from. Are you drawing it internally to improve your health markers, bone density, stroke volume, living a longer life, or are you drawing something externally, where you would be more concerned with your physique, more concerned with looking good for a specific goal, dropping body fat, something like that? And find amongst those two different sources of motivation the one that floats your boat. Some people are more drawn to life expectancy, personally, internally. They're, knowing that they are going to be more resilient for life conditions as they get older. That is a very strong internal motivator where a lot of guys will be looking at that, looking at high intensity training, younger guys, and looking at that research and getting very, excited about it. But under battle conditions of a workout, it means very little to them. So that when you're actually training and you're bogging down on a set of leg presses and you've still got 5 reps to go, knowing that, in 30 years, your mineral bone density is going to be very good and your stroke volume is going to be strong, God willing, if you make it that far genetically, that may not get you through. If you're looking at the research basing your motivation on that may not be the thing that gets you through. And you're much better off adjusting your arrow of motivation towards something external, because maybe that is better suited for you at this period in your life. So, you're looking at drawing inspiration on losing body fat and looking better, looking better. I always say this, for going on a holiday, or looking better for your partner, and some photos. You might schedule some photos to be taken of you and stuff like that. Some people may say it's a more narcissistic goal. That's fine, whatever it takes. So I would say, first of all, sort out what you want from your training in terms of the motivation. Don't just think to yourself, well, this is the best research-based protocol that's going to give me everything I want internally. Look, take some ego into the equation and pump your mental attitude towards there, so that when you're training and you're training really hard, it'll come naturally, because the goals will mean something to you. That's how it works for me.
Yeah, no, I love that. And there's a few things there that you said that are really useful. I think it can be very valuable to use stakes, like you're saying, or to set up stakes. Like, going on holiday, wanting to look great for a holiday, wanting setting up a photo shoot so that in, I guess, 4 to 8 weeks time, or actually that's probably way too short term, but perhaps something further ahead,
yes.
That if you're looking like shit, then that's going to be a pretty horrible photo shoot. And it sounds ridiculous because obviously, we want to say to people that we don't train for that. We train because we want to live a long time and have high and be functionally healthy and have good quality of life and all of that. But the reality is that, that's not always what motivates people to take action. And what motivates people to take action is often stuff they're embarrassed to admit. So use that, isn't it, right? Like, use that stuff, leverage it, realize that that's just how perhaps you're wired, if you are wired that way, and take advantage of it for sure.
I mean, there's a lot of us when we listen to Doug McGuff, nobody in this game is more eloquent than he is and more intelligent and putting over the arguments for high intensity training. He's mesmerizing. But when you look at him training, you go, holy shit, look at the size of his arms. So you think that is a terrific motivator, he looks fantastic, man. I mean, and that is a great, so he's offering that part of the package too. So, using Doug McGuff as a template there. Okay, what do you want to do? Do you want to know about all the good stuff, all the health stuff, or do you just want to look like him? And you can get all the good stuff and look like him too if you're lucky, if you train hard enough. So he's a good example of someone to look at and divide your attention to just some specific mode of Doug McGuff that gets you going in the gym,
Yeah, he's very inspiring on multiple levels.
Multiple levels.
For sure. What about, this is sometimes the way I think about it, is whilst I do try and push myself pretty hard every time I train, if there are times when I work out, and I've blogged about this before and spoken about this, where I just can't bring it. I can't go to failure because, quite frankly, the exercise I'm doing is just so uncomfortable at that moment that I can't go there. The other day I went on a new pull-down machine at a new gym, and I was working out with a friend for the first time, and I just couldn't go to failure on the pull-down because of my forearms, right? Which is often the case when you're using a new pull-down, which doesn't have perhaps good good strength curves is your forearms fatigue first and you can't, it's very, very uncomfortable. So then I just went over to some pull-up bars and I just did pull-ups to failure instead. It's like a second set. And so I think that, sometimes, hey, look, if you do a workout where you're not quite going to failure, is it really going to ruin your gains over a lifetime? Probably not, right?
No. Yeah. I mean, this is a long, this played a long game and stop focusing, a lot of people that the workout must be a be all and end all, and if you don't hit failure on and you don't have a magnificent high intensity style workout every time you train, it knocks your ego, it affects your enjoyment of the workout. And I'm all for utilizing the workout for maximum pleasure and maximum results, but not in terms of reaching muscular failure every time. If you're having trouble or go and even just driving to the gym and you are dreading this experience and you've been so ingrained by that philosophy as it shouldn't be fun, it's torture, it's health, you have to do it, that will, believe me, and I'm talking with 40 years of training experience nearly, that will suck the motivation out of you quicker than anything. And over time, you're going to drop out, because to bring that mindset to workouts can be very, very unmotivating, demotivating. So go to the gym. If you don't feel like going, that doesn't matter. If you don't feel like it, right, we know that. You get up and you go anyway. Turn up at the gym and this only comes after a few years, have a toolbox of different techniques and modalities and protocols that you can pull from. Go in, start your warm-up process, and just go on the fly. It takes a long time to get to this place, but it can be done early on if you aren't too encased in that iron helmet mentality of this way or the highway of high intensity training. Play around more. Have fun. It's the long game. One workout's not going to make a lot of difference over the course of several thousand. All right. So don't beat yourself up. Train to enjoy it. I like what, Bob Wayland, he's an awesome guy, a strength coach in America. He said years ago, that this fascination with training shouldn't be fun. You shouldn't enjoy your training. And he compared it to, he said it was nonsense, and I agree, because he compared it to guys that climb Mount Everest or climb, Meru or these fantastic mountains. He said they do it's hard work. They risk their lives, but they do enjoy it. They're getting something from that. I mean, it's spiritual. They can't keep off the mountains, these guys. They risk their lives. So they're enjoying it on some level. There's a form of enjoyment. And training should be in the same vein, right? It's not life and death. And you should pull from toolboxes when you go to the gym and make it more enjoyable.
When you get someone who comes to your facility and they're just really not in the mood, let's say they've dropped you a text, which is kind of negative, and they turn up and they're just totally demotivated, what do you pull out of your toolbox to get them back in the groove?
Well, what I don't do is to say, okay, what we're doing today is we're going to failure on the leg press, then we're going to go to failure with breakdown sets on it, right? I don't do that. I take each person, I've said this to you before, I'm sure, every person that comes through the gym is on a different, the same person is a different person every time he comes through the gym. He's had a good or bad day, he's had stresses at home, or he's had problems, arguments at work, whatever. So he comes in, and that's the first thing, two things I ask him. How did you feel after your last session? And how do you feel today? And they generally say, I felt great after the last session, which is reinforces that in their mind. And then they say, and I feel a little bit flat today. I'm not in the mood today. So we start. I'll sit them on the Airdyne bike. We have a little conversation about training or about life. Let them unwind after the car journey for 5 to 10 minutes. And then I say, okay, well, let's start. Just jump in the leg press and I'll stick 100 pound on there. Let's just give me 10 reps, All right, so they do 10 reps, and then I'll say, okay, now slip it down 2 plates and give me another 10. All right, and they do that. And I build a rolling motivation, rolling tempo start that way. And then I may move them off of something onto the chest press. I'll make sure I do an exercise that they like, and I'll base the workout on their mood when they walk in, and very frequently that mood changes within the first 5 minutes of the workout proper, and we finish up having a great session. That's one of the keys to being a good trainer. It's a people business. Yeah. You have to know how to talk to people, and it's not too many people go into training and they're so worried about the techniques. They're so worried about how to train, where would you do for this? What do you do for that? You'll get that. Okay. Get a good qualification, go to hit uni, get qualified, understand the technicalities. But training people on the floor is a people business, a personality business. It's having empathy for other people and having enough knowledge to draw workouts from I use this analogy too frequently, from a toolbox. And I have an intern who watches me do this sometimes, and she says to me, how did you know how to do that? Why did you do that? Why? And I say, well, I don't know. It's just experience. He wasn't feeling great, so I tried this, And anyone who's doing that on their own, going to the gym, can do the same thing, and all trainers can do it. Listen to your client. And don't be stuck in a very narrow mindset, and adjust the workouts accordingly.
Mm-hmm. That's good stuff. So just taking a step back, I guess, talking about people who train, by themselves or perhaps they train supervised somewhere, so they're not running their own businesses. I've noticed quite a lot of them, and maybe there's an obvious answer to this, but a lot of them struggle with training hard with body weight. And I can relate to that because I've switched from, using MedX kit to using body weight, and it is harder. There's no question about that. It's much harder to get to muscular failure using body weight versus a nice smooth, exercise machine, especially one that's well designed. So have you got any thoughts on, I guess, helping people get the motivation, train hard in what are just more challenging exercise modalities?
Do you mean something like, when people are arguing online about, machines and protocols and stuff, and then the person who's observing that arguing is thinking very negatively about it because he assumes then he hasn't got the tools necessary for the job. Is that what you mean?
No, because that's more like, what's most effective, body weight, free weights, or machines. And, I think my opinion, and certainly the opinion of probably many of the listeners, is that they all stimulate good results. I'm talking about, if you haven't got access to good machines, right? If you haven't got access to like MedX or Nautilus or even Life Fitness in some cases, and you've just got access to body weight and shitty equipment, like it can be hard to motivate yourself to train hard with that because it's hard. Right?
Yes.
So have you got any, maybe we're running over the same ground here as we did earlier, but I'm wondering if you've got any thoughts on that.
Yeah, first of all, know your history, okay? Training history didn't start with Arthur Jones, God bless him. People have been doing physical exercise for hundreds of years, right? Back to the Spartans and beyond, right? Before that. So understand that lots of modalities work, lots of training work. If you want to train in a high intensity body weight style, and you're struggling, look at pictures of Charles Bronson or Woody Strode, or some of the guys that used to play Tarzan in the old days. Look at the pictures of those guys, right? See how the kind of physiques and health that Charles Atlas built. All right. Look at the history. Okay, it's out there. Draw inspiration from that. You've got fantastic bodyweight programs out there. Drew Barry's program's great. And just doing push-ups and bodyweight squats and pull-ups from a tree branch. What motivation do you need to that? You are your own gym, right? You don't need anything else. Lift the self by the self. The self is the only person you need, right? Yourself. Get out there and do it on the deck. Draw motivation in a grim, determined way, and get in there and do what you know you can do. Look at the history and get out there and do it. Go and do it in the rain one day outside,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that because I like the way you're looking at it because you're almost looking at it like, look, this is like, people have proven that obviously you can get great results through bodyweight training, and like focus on the mastery of the minimalist approach to training and the mastery of those movements. If you want inspiration, you can look at James Steele on YouTube. He's got plenty of videos of him doing very, very hard bodyweight training sessions, but you can see that he really embraces it and embraces the suffer fest, he calls it. And, there can be motivation derived from that focus, right? From that focus of mastery. Which is one really cool way of looking at it. No, I like that. You always struck me as someone who's very motivated to train. You're always in good shape year round, and you're in your 57 now, 58, something like that.
57, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Hang on.
Yeah. Wait a second. So you know, and I'm always impressed by how you look. So how for yourself? I mean, obviously you've given your thoughts on how others can motivate themselves with kind of internal, external focus. But how do you motivate yourself to train hard and stay in good shape? You know, pretty much year round.
I think it comes after a long time. You go through a journey of such. You go through as you go through your training career. You go through different things. You learn a lot, and you don't get the kind of motivation that an older person like I have after 3 to 5 years. Right, mine is embedded in my tissues, you know, in my billions of cells. It's in there because I've been training. And anyone who's done it like I have for a long time will know what I'm speaking about. You're not yourself without your training. You have a deep understanding of that in the back of your brain, that if you don't train, you're not yourself. It is a second self. It is in there and it needs to be expressed. So I don't struggle with motivation. I know I have to do it because without it, I've got a problem. You know, I can't exist without my training. As you know, I've got at this moment this big plastic boot on from a damaged Achilles. I've had it on for 8 weeks and then a cast on for 3 or 4 weeks before that. I have not missed one planned workout in that time. You know, I went in with a cast and crutches and trained. I'm not saying that to say I'm some kind of superhuman. I'm certainly not. But what I am is someone who's driven by a need to train, and I have to find a way. It was one of when the doctor told me that, Mr. Harrison, you can't work for 2 weeks. You won't be able to drive. The first thing that crossed my mind, the very first thing, wasn't, oh my God, my business. The first thing that crossed my mind was, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to train? How am I going to do this? That was the first thing that crossed my mind. So it's deep in there, you know. Yeah. And that only comes after many years of training. For people that, so that's how I do it. It's a history. I take pride in that. You know, my motivation is at times very grim. You know, I used that word before, and it's not about happy, fun, rocky type motivation. It's the taking motivation from the fact that I don't need it.
What do you mean by that?
I motivate myself by the fact that I don't need motivation. It's like a loop. You know, I don't need someone to tell me to train. I don't need to read a book about motivation to reinforce it. I do it whether I feel like it or not. And that is motivating.
I got
because
you.
I can lay in bed at night knowing that I've done what I needed to do. Now, I don't always train to failure. As you know, I'm not a high-intensity purist. You know, I'll go in and train my way.
Yeah.
That suits my personality and suits the way I'm made up. And that, after all these years of training, to me is a beautiful thing, because it's allowed me to express my training, my body, in a way that is totally unique to me, and to use that knowledge to help others. So that is motivating. You know, I look at this training thing as much more than just going in and lifting weights. You know, it's every time I go to the gym, it's like making a new recipe, you know.
Right. So, because you're more or less freestyling at the moment. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Training.
Very much so. Yeah.
I'm definitely not there. I'm definitely not there. like, you know, I wrote a blog post a while back, like 11 things I learned about high intensity training. I think I ended up using 11 because I just ran out of things after 11. But like one of the points was like, if I freestyle, I don't give it everything because I don't know when the end is. The end isn't clear to me. Whereas when I know there's a clear end, and normally for me, that's 5 or 6 exercises. And then you've trained me. You've seen how metabolically destroyed I get. Or maybe that's just because of your regime. But no, point I'm trying to make is if I know there's a clear end, I'm actually, for me, at least where I am in my life, I find that I actually train harder with that clear kind of finish line. I admire and respect your ability to just go in and give it freestyle and give everything. That's very.
But it's still drawing from a base of logics and sense. It's but I just don't pigeonhole myself now. And I don't want to come across as some kind of I don't know. But I do what I want to do now, and I don't really worry about what anybody else thinks about it. You change too. You may change. Your approach in 5 years might be different than it is now. Stay open.
Yeah.
And get out of the. You'll find yourself just your parachute will open, right? And that's a good thing.
Yeah, highvolumetrainingpodcast.com. That'll be it.
Yeah.
Maybe not, but who knows?
No.
Who knows, right? No, but you're right. It's definitely important to keep an open mind. One of the other things that impressed me about you is you stay lean as well. And we know that's pretty much all down to diet. So how do you motivate yourself to have a clean diet? Like a lot of the time,
I think really that's it's very simple because I eat the foods that I want to eat, and I guess maybe after all this time, it's just what I like to eat. I eat more or less the same thing every day, with a slight variation in the evening meal. But my breakfast is always protein powder, yogurt, and fruit. I mean, that's it. I've eaten that for the last 15, 20 years every morning. Occasionally, if I haven't got it, I'll make something up on the fly, but that's generally I have. And my lunch is a high protein, low carbohydrate lunch, tuna and salad, or with a little bit of rice, maybe, or 4 eggs and rye bread. I've been eating that very thin German rye bread toasted lately. I like that. So I don't snack. I never have a problem with snacking because I don't snack. It doesn't bother me. I'm not looking for chips. I'm not looking for sweets. I'm not looking for anything because my body is trained to eat 3 times a day. When I go on holiday, I do the same thing. I just, we go, my partner Lorraine drives around the twist because what you having for breakfast, you got this huge buffet, with all this stuff. And she says, what are you having? So I said, well, I'm having yogurt and fruit. Yogurt and fruit, like I always do, and I just have the same thing. But I mix up the fruit, I mix up the vegetables, and I mix up the meat and at the evening meal. So that's how it works for me. That's just my personality. I like to eat the same things. I don't vary very much. I drink a lot of water. I have a weakness for wine and beer, and at the weekends I do that. So that's probably everyone has a linchpin. A weakness, right? So that's my weakness. I might, at the weekend I might have, 4 or 5 beers, or I've been trying to cut the beers out. So I've been drinking French grain vodka and soda because of the calories, because I've got a holiday coming up. So yeah, stuff like that. But basically it's the same thing every day. That's how I do it.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me in terms of what works for you. Like, find food you love and that you enjoy that is healthy. And we all know what that is, well, most of us. And repeat the same meals that you enjoy. Remove the effort and decision fatigue that accumulates through variety. A lot of people say that's boring, but then you ask them what they eat and it's the same crap every day. It's just not the right stuff, right?
Didn't you used to eat at Chipotle every day, and you used to have that years ago when you was in the city, right?
That's correct, yeah. And I spent, that's when I used to earn money. I was spending £10 probably, call that $15 for lunch every day. And I saw it as because of my income at the time, I saw it as a as an investment because I was like, well, I know I'm going to, this is going to serve my health goals. And I don't think about it. And it was like, I used to order it online and pick it up and it was like clockwork. So yeah, good memory.
Yeah, I remember you saying. Yeah. I mean, that even applies to my protein powder. I have a gold standard protein powder thing I buy, regularly. I never change the flavor. The same thing. I've been having the same French vanilla, boring as hell. I can rely on it. I can trust it. But they have all these amazing flavors, birthday cake, mint chocolate chip, right?
I love birthday cake. That sounds great.
Sometimes my finger trembles over the Amazon button, but I never do. I always swipe up to French vanilla cream and push the button. And I know what I'm getting, right? Yeah.
What brand do you get? Optimum Nutrition or?
Yeah, most of my supplements are those guys. I think they're very good. Optimum Nutrition. I have that. I have their pre-workout and what else? Oh, their ZMA I use as well.
All right. Okay. Cool. This episode is brought to you by our sponsor, ARX. Are you looking to create a cutting-edge, high-intensity training facility? Are you confused on what equipment to use or how to separate yourself from the masses? Well, then ARX Fit might be the answer you're looking for. I asked Mike Polano from ARX a few questions about how ARX machines are challenging the status quo of the exercise industry around the globe. Mike, if you could, give the listeners a quick summary of why ARX is so different from the traditional machines or tools they're used to seeing in most exercise facilities.
ARX is totally different than anything you've seen before. This isn't just another weight stack machine. We've looked at the last 40 years of exercise technology and used that knowledge to create something entirely new. ARX uses a new form of resistance, a motor, and we pair that motor with computer software so that we can maximize the safety, effectiveness, and efficiency of your workouts. So you may be asking, okay, but how does ARX compare to weights? Traditional machines you see in gyms today are based on lifting metal weights and battling gravity. What people don't realize is that when you're forced to lift a static weight like this, one that doesn't adapt or change while you use it, you're underloading yourself rep after rep. And this unnecessarily limits your ability to make improvements. With ARX, we've taken a totally different approach. We removed weights and gravity from the equation altogether. Instead, ARX combines our patented motorized resistance with our custom computer software to provide you with the world's safest, most effective, and most quantified form of resistance training ever. When you train with ARX, you are training to your perfect level of resistance, both positively and negatively 100% of the time. No more guessing what weight to use. ARX does all of that for you, instantly and automatically. We'll also track and measure every second of every rep, so you can quantify all of your workouts to find out if you're improving and by exactly how much. Whether your goals are bigger muscles, increased strength, stronger bones, or just to look good in a bathing suit, ARX can help you achieve all of these and more, but do so in a fraction of the time it would take compared to traditional equipment. If you're looking for the most efficient, most effective, and most quantified piece of exercise equipment on the market today, then look no further than ARX.
Thanks, Mike. That all sounds really impressive. If you'd like to learn more about ARX, visit arxfit.com and mention that you heard about ARX on the Corporate Warrior podcast to receive an exclusive deal of $500 off shipping and installation off your ARX machines. Yeah, I mean, you've always said before how holidays seem to be a good milestone for you in terms of, if you've got a holiday coming up, that seems to give you added motivation. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's a good external motivator for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So where are you going this year then? When's your holiday?
Well, we were going to go to Ibiza at the end of just before I injured my foot, but unfortunately we couldn't go because of that. So we're off to the Canary Islands in 4 weeks.
Beautiful. That's awesome. Well deserved, I'm sure.
Thank you.
And it goes back to what you were saying earlier, people struggling with motivation, photo shoot, a bet with friends. There's a website called dietbet.com, I believe, where you can actually set a bet on who can lose the most body fat.
Yes.
So you can win some money in the process. But it's not about that. It's obviously about the putting some skin in the game. And then a holiday is probably one of the biggest ones. And, it's funny because I used to think, oh, that's sad that people are getting into shape for holiday. They should be getting into shape for a lifestyle, right? For them, it should be their life. But whatever works, right? You know, in terms
whatever
of
works, you've got to get into the gym. You know, I mean, I don't have that motivator all year round, but it'll give me 6 weeks of very intense training. For for that. Other than that, it's there's that lingering. Age is great. When you get older, you want to be healthy, and you want to look good. And you want to have all the benefits of good strength training. So that's like that constant thread in the background, which keeps me going to the gym as well.
Okay, cool. One of the other things, I guess, the same group of people that I'm thinking about may struggle with is the challenges with busy life, right? So you've got, especially as people come into their, I guess, middle age, or I'm probably going to be going there myself in a few years. In terms of having children, very busy career, busy business, finding time. I know, high intensity training, we all know is very time efficient. But in terms of trying to find the motivation to train hard and to find the energy to do that when you've got all that shit going on, have you got any advice for that?
I mean, life is always, you don't exist in a microcosm on your own. Everyone's got time issues. Everyone's got a job. People tend to over-exaggerate their own schedules and time difficulties. Everyone's busy. Everyone's got issues. So first of all, put yourself in the bigger picture, right? If you want to do this thing, and you've got the right motivation to do it, you've found a way to motivate yourself. It definitely, you don't need to travel to a fancy gym. You don't need to carve out an hour 3 times a week. It can be done. If you have young children, your sleep's going to be messed up. It doesn't matter. You can find a way. Bodyweight training is just the greatest thing for people in this situation, because what do you need? You need, a small area in the kitchen, just a little bit bigger than a yoga mat, and you can have some incredibly intense workouts, and they don't take long, So there is no reason to miss it, and there is no reason to feel sorry for yourself. It's simply a matter of being determined enough. Some other guys that don't have kids and are just busy, get up a little bit earlier, or find a way. There is a way if you want it. If you can be, if you've been hospitalized, then obviously not. But other than that, get off your ass, get out of bed and do it. It doesn't take long. How long does it take to do, 20 slow squats or 100 bodyweight normal speed squats, and do some chin-ups, one of them fantastic little home chin-up setups you can get now, and then do some slow push-ups. It doesn't take long, and you can get awesome results doing it. Keep a clean diet and do it. It's not, you're not a hero. That is not, Dave Tate, he's a great trainer and powerlifter. He says, he gets very sick of people saying, the grind, heroic, you're a hero. It's not. It's just a day to day what you do if you want to do this thing. Get up and do it. In that overused analogy of brushing your teeth, it is that. You don't need to be motivated to go to work. I love it. You get up and do it. And that's what. If you want to have a good physique, if you want to be healthy, grow up.
Yeah, do you know what? It's easier coming from you because you have 2 kids and you've gone through some tough shit in life. Whereas, I'm not saying I haven't gone through tough shit, but I don't have children, so I don't always feel qualified to answer that question and say what you just said. Although I feel exactly the same. I feel like this is hygiene. This is really important, as if not more important than brushing your teeth. I completely agree. And, I was thinking about this, right now, obviously I have, I guess, in some ways, the luxury of time and energy where I am very methodical about my training right now. I track everything, and, I've got a specific program I'm following, and I'm sort of going back to kind of some of the body by science principles and experimenting. However, in the near future, when I'm sure my life's going to change a lot with stuff happening personally and in business, I'm quite acutely aware that I'm going to fall back to, you know, being a bit all over the place and then just having some kind of boring staple routine that I just jump into when I can. Probably bodyweight orientated, you know? So I'm kind of aware that you can kind of switch between being really kind of focused and quantitating everything and then moving to a more basic, you know, messy routine, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
As things ebb and flow.
Yeah, and then you can, you know, there's no one's got a pin you to the wall. You can do something for a while, and you may just gravitate to that for, you know, 2 or 3 years, and then you get sick of it and try something else. You know.
Yeah. What would be, you know, just thinking on that thread, you know, for when things do get hectic for people and they do have to revert to a staple routine or something basic, what would be, in your view, kind of a minimum effective dose training sort of workout?
Body weight would be twice a week, some form of squat, you know, a push-up or a handstand, if you're strong enough, a handstand push-up with your feet against a wall as a pushing movement, and some, you know, pull-up variations of different types. That would be, and then you could also do an exercise for the lower back, which Doug McGuff demonstrates a great one on one of his YouTube videos, a body weight exercise for the lower back, lumbar, spine.
What's that, like a prone trunk extension, or what is it?
Basically, it's like he's laying down with his, I forget, I'm sure you'll be able to link it to this. Yeah. And he basically is laying down with his feet, his knees bent, feet on the floor, and he passes his hand underneath his lower back. There's a small arch. And then he interlaces his finger, I think, places them on his abdomen, and then he's pushing his shoulders and his feet and his butt into the floor. So he's creating a small arch in his lower back, and he's holding it isometrically for a number of seconds. It's terrific. I mean, I've used that myself. It's really, really good. So that's a great body weight thing.
I thought I was the big Doug McGuff fanboy that had watched every single video multiple times, but clearly, Ted, you have beaten me on this account.
Oh, yeah. I'm a fanboy, man.
Awesome. Let's talk about this in the context quickly of sort of business owners and personal trainers. You know, I'm talking about motivation here. So, you know, you hear this quite a lot in our business, in personal training, where people, let's say they start a business and they get kind of burnt out or bored of the monotony of training people all day. And, you know, their population may be not as athletically gifted as they hoped, and maybe they're training people a lot of the time who are in their kind of 50s, 60s over, and maybe for some people that's, I'm not saying that they're not fun to train. I'm just saying that some people might not be ready for that or expect that. So anyway, in a roundabout way, what I'm trying to say is, have you got any advice for the personal trainer or business owner listening to this who is getting a bit burnt out and bored maybe of the monotony of training people all day long, and how to stay motivated? Because I know obviously you've been one-on-one for some time.
I think the main thing, I can only speak personally, that I draw on is, you know, you're there to help people. That's why I go to work every day. That's my job, is to help people. So whoever comes through the door, that's the first thing that crosses my mind, is how can I help this person? I have to call that to mind every time, because these aren't just numbers. They're not just clients. They're human beings, and you have to help them. That's why you're there. They're relying on you and your expertise to help them. So, like any job, not every day is fun. You know, it is. It's work, and you have to do that. But many people come into this industry, into the fitness industry, because they're interested in themselves and they're interested in how training feels to them. And it seems like, well, yeah, this is great. I'll just go and work in a gym, or I own a gym, and I'll be in the gym and everything's the gym, and it's fantastic, right? But unfortunately, when you've been in the gym for 6 months, it's just like any other environment, really. You're there all day. You have to get up and go to work and do the job. So you need to draw on something much more than just enthusiasm for training. You're doing a much, much bigger job than that. You know, you could be adding years to people's lives. You know, you're doing something important and they're relying on you, whether you feel like it or not. You know, I don't go to work. When I'm at work and my first client says, you know, a lot of people do it earlier than this, but I'll have one come in at 7:30 in the morning and I've had to get up and get myself ready and get down to work, and I don't feel like it. You know, I'm in there, I slam an espresso and they walk through the door and they've got the weight of the world on their shoulders because they've got work coming up and they want to see Ted the trainer, man. You know, I've got to be on the ball. Hi, how are you? How are you feeling? Not, oh my God, I didn't want to come in and do this today. You know, my profession is to be up. That's my job. I've got to motivate this person as best I can to have a productive workout, as good a workout as they're going to get. So you better be professional about it, and you better understand that the training and understanding and liking training and the high intensity principles is not the be all and end all of owning a gym, right? You're there to help people and do your job. And believe me, it's a lot better job than a lot of people will ever have, because you go home at night, right? You go home at night and you know you've done some good work there, right? Whether you felt like it or not. And that is a great thing. It's a career, right? We're not and if you treat it seriously, you know, we're not rep counters here. You know, we're doing something good. We're trying to push some evidence-based science of exercise into people's lives and do it with a smile on our face. You know, you're a professional, so you know, this is not always fun, but do your job that you're very lucky to do and very lucky to have.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
I think I love that you've expressed it a few times on this podcast. This kind of like no bullshit attitude. It's good, and I think a lot of people need to hear this. And I think people will find that very inspiring. I certainly did, and I really love that it's all about the professionalism for you, serving others. It's not necessarily about geeking out on HIIT every day as much as we'd like to. It's just not. That's just not the long-term business game, I suppose. And if you want to stay in business and make a good living or make a living, then you're going to have to do work you don't want to do sometimes, and have to get up when you don't want to get up, and like you say, put on a brave face a lot of the time. So no, I respect.
Yeah, and control your emotions as well, because it's very easy to want more from people than they are able to provide. You get so caught up in the moment of a good workout that you can push people to do things they're not ready for. Be aware of that, because that can happen, particularly early on. Draw that back. Keep control of yourself and look at it from a more logical, unemotional standpoint. There are times when I'm training certain people and things are going particularly well, and we are working very well together, and I have literally goosebumps all over my body. You know, it's going so well. I'm so into this workout. My heart's pounding, you know, because this is going very well, you know, and that reinforces in me, you know, Ted, this is what you're supposed to do. You know, I love this.
That's awesome.
But by the same token, keep one hand in reality, you know, because you're responsible for controlling this workout. You know, that's important.
Did you feel like that when I came down?
I did. Yes, I did.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Anyone that wants to perform, right? You know, you get on that diving board and jump in, man, and that's it. You put your faith in me, and you came in that gym, and you wanted to work, and that is a great thing. It's a great thing to have that, to be given that trust, and to work with someone. I always like that. You're working with them. you're not shouting and dictating. Yes, I get in that mode, but you're working with someone to produce a workout, something unique. And you definitely did that. Yeah, I was a light after. I was as much energy, as you had. It was terrific.
Yeah, it was great fun. And hopefully, I know I said I'd get down there sometime this year and maybe later on this year or 2019. We'll have to see. But it'd be awesome to meet up again and train again for sure.
Yes.
I love what you're saying because it clearly is your calling, and it's not going to be every single workout, but clearly there are going to be sessions where you have those moments, and I'm sure many of the people listening to this can relate to that. And I guess it's important that they remember those moments and just realize how much they are impacting people's lives in a positive way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah. Any more thoughts on motivation for running your business, or has it all been said in your view?
Any more thoughts about the motivation? Make sure that you examine your motivations for getting into the exercise business carefully before you do. Mm-hmm. Don't get carried away with spending. I said this in my last podcast with you, I think. And don't get start small and debt free, right? That's what Dave Tate says, and that's how I did it. Don't have debt, and be very cautious of your own motivations for getting in the business, because it is a business, it's a profession, Mm-hmm. And draw your motivation from helping people. That's first and foremost. Don't be carrying debt, which is going to drag your mental attitude down into the gutter, and go in there with sincere, and that's important, the sincere desire to help people, and you will succeed.
I love that. And this actually reminds me of my last podcast I did with Luke, which I really enjoyed doing, and that was all about sales marketing, where Luke basically just this is Luke Carlson from Discover Strength, where he basically went on about talked about all of the sales and marketing principles that he had actually spoken about in previous podcasts, but he elaborated on them and brought them all together into one episode. And one of the things he said was this philosophy of one client, one set, one rep. And it's exactly what you just said, which is that, he might be dealing with the stress of running the business. Maybe someone quit their job that day. Maybe he had something bad happen in his day for himself, like whatever it is, some kind of external stress. But when that client comes through that door for their half hour or that hour session, you turn it on for them, and you be present and engaged during that entire session, deliver the best service you can.
Yeah.
Because that's all that really matters in the context of your business. If you can't do that consistently, it all falls apart, right? Regardless of how well you do everything else.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was so great how he said it. And I loved how you almost pretty much said exactly the same thing in your own way, which kind of hammers that home, how important that is.
Yeah. And what he's saying, aspect. He's so right. He's so good at that. And when you think, you basically just string enough of those together and you're going to be fine. Right, string enough of those individual workouts together where you're giving 100%, regardless of how you feel, and that's how I imagine he's been. He's phenomenally successful, so he certainly knows what he's doing.
There's obviously a few guys and girls in the UK who are passionate about strength training and high intensity training. I wondered, it can be, you run your own place. You said you've got an intern recently, so maybe you have got more people around you these days. But it can be quite a lonely business model. So do you make an effort to meet up with a lot of the people in the UK that run their own high intensity training facilities or are passionate about HIT in order to motivate yourself?
I am friends on Facebook and telephone with a number of people that do what I do, and the Collins brothers in Sunderland are great. They're great pals, and they have a high intensity training business, the Hit Works.
Yeah.
And yourself, watching and listening to Simon Shawcross, the professionalism that he displays in his business and his own growth of his business, and stuff like that. I mean, I do. I don't partake very much in conversations on social media, but
don't blame you.
Yeah, right. But I'm glad that the guys are out there. I mean, I got very inspired by Doug McGuff. When I opened my latest vital exercise, I had the gyms before that, but this, if it hadn't been for him suggesting that a gym could be done in 350 square feet, something like 300, I would not have opened vital exercise. I thought, my God, that's right, it can be done. So just listening to guys out there, you can get great motivation, and I do that. But I'm not the greatest one for engaging on social media now.
What about just meeting up with the guys in the UK? Do you have like Peter and Brian? Do you meet up? And Simon, like, do you make stuff like that happen, or is it just difficult when you're, I guess, busy running your business?
I mean, we do. It's not a regular thing. I mean, yourself, me, and you, we've met up, right, with Simon and Chris. Remind me of Chris's second name.
Chris Allen.
Chris Allen, yeah, he's awesome. Yeah. So we all met up there and had a meal, didn't we?
Awesome.
Peter and Brian came down and stayed for the weekend with Tracy and their lovely little daughter. They came down and stayed with Lorraine and I. I'm due to go up there. I'm a bit terrified because I know they're going to kill me in the gym. I mean, whenever it can happen, I get a great buzz out of it. Yeah.
I'd like to do a good tour of the UK, right, and like work out with like James Biddle and the Collins brothers and yourself Biddle, again, and
that's great.
And Simon. But I'm like, okay, well, I know they're all going to want to destroy me, probably. Assuming they will, let me train there, which I shouldn't assume that. I'll ask politely, but I would probably have to take a week off between each session, because like I'm looking at Simon, who just did a trip to the US, and he met up with Skylar and Jay Vincent and Bill Desmond, all these people. And I'm like, are you getting a workout every single place you're stopping at? Because I get why it's like, opportunity of a lifetime, right? You're just with this person for this. You want to do a workout with someone. It's how we get to know each other in HIT, right? But like you can't physically actually do it. Like it's not probably productive to be doing it like each day or every couple of days, in my opinion, anyway. So.
I think another thing is the time as well. When I think this is very true. I mean, if I have a break from the gym, and I go away, or I'm at the weekends, or when I have a week off, a couple of times a year, I don't really think about training that much. I don't really. It doesn't occupy me. I'll go and have a workout in whatever gym is available, but I deliberately avoid thinking about training. I want to get away from it because it's like we say, right? It's not. After a while, it's a job, it's a profession. So you, like anything, if you want to break from it, if you work in a restaurant, you don't want to be thinking about that restaurant all the time. You want to be away from it, doing something different. And so, I wouldn't take a week off and go and tour gyms. No, that's not for me.
Cool. Ted, this has been a lot of fun as always. What's the best way for the listeners to find out more about you?
I have a website, vitalexercise.com, but it's more of one of those, what do they call it, a pamphlet website. If they want to contact me, they should, so they should, through social media on Facebook, they can go to Vital Exercise there and message me. My mobile number is readily available on the website. They can email me. It's all ready available. And I do, Skype consultations all around the world, and I'm available.
Cool, good stuff. Yeah, and I encourage you guys to contact Ted and to connect through the site and through Facebook. To find the blog post for this episode, guys, please go to corporatewarrior.co/vital exercise -free, as this is the third podcast that Ted has done on Corporate Warrior, so hence the -free. Not probably the easiest URL to remember, but it's the best I can come up with. So corporatewarrior.co/vital exercise -free. And for all episodes, please go to corporatewarrior.co/podcast. And until next time, guys, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. Before you head off, head on over to corporatewarrior.co/ebook to get a bunch of goodies, including number 1, a free ebook of podcast transcripts with some of my top guests like Dr. Doug McGuff, Drew Bay, and Bill Simone on how to optimize muscle gain, fat loss, and overall health in an efficient, effective, and sustainable way. Number 2, a free high-intensity training business checklist to help you get more clients in your business. And number 3, a free high-intensity training Google Sheet to help you track and improve your training progress. Head on over to corporatewarrior.co/ebook now and enter your email address for instant access. This episode is brought to you by ARX, the most innovative, efficient, and effective all-in-one exercise machines I have ever seen. I was really impressed with my ARX workout. The intensity and adaptive resistance was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I love how the machine enables you to increase the negative load to fatigue target muscles more quickly, and I love how the workouts are effortlessly quantified. The software tracks maximum force output, rate of work, total amount of work done, and more in front of you on screen, allowing you to compete with your previous performance to give you and your clients real-time motivation. The ARX uses a computer-controlled motor to give you the exact amount of resistance your clients need 100% of the time. This means that the resistance can never become dangerous, is intuitive and simple to use, and can provide you with all of the results you and your clients are looking for in a fraction of the time. ARX is highly effective and efficient in delivering all of the benefits of exercise, including increased strength, muscle mass, cardiovascular conditioning, bone mineral density, and injury recovery. As well as being utilized by many high-intensity trainers to deliver highly effective and efficient workouts to their clients, ARX comes highly recommended by world-class trainers and brands, including Bulletproof, Tony Robbins, and Ben Greenfield Fitness. To find out more about ARX and get $500 off install when you place an order, please go to arxfit.com and mention Corporate Warrior in the How Did You Hear About Us field. So again, to get $500 off install when you order, head on over to arxfit.com and enter Corporate Warrior in the How Did You Hear About Us field.